Hello, everyone. Think you know the drill by now if you've been with us all day. Start to let us know where you are in the world. Drop in your LinkedIn. We might as well get to know each other. We're going to be together for the next 45 minutes. If you haven't taken a chance during the breaks, you can also head over to the networking tab to get to know each other. Although, as I was just saying to Bailey, we're going to finish strong here. We're going to roll right from this session to the vibe coding to the closing. So buckle up, everybody. This is our last session before we do come together as that full group. And I am excited that it is with someone that we have brought back for their second solo summit. And it's on a topic that, I don't know, coming out of a corporate world, I don't think we ever talked about enough, and that's networking. But it's one of my favorite things in the solo world because solos are so generous with their time and so interesting. But we all know we need to move beyond collecting LinkedIn connections as trading cards or just showing up at events. And we want to turn it into real partnership, things that can send you work, open doors, make your business feel stronger and probably more fun. But it starts with knowing what you need and what you have to offer in return. Before we jump into that, we're going to make a little segue to Lettuce in that just like we need an aligned infrastructure for our networking and our partnerships, you need the same thing for your back office. And Lettuce is going to help you build that with your solo HQ. You can put your S-Corp, payroll, bookkeeping, healthcare, retirement, all in one nice structure. It's something we all need. It's something I have started to build myself and has taken a lot of mental weight off of my solo business and helped me think about more fun things like how do I connect more with other people. So a little bit more housekeeping before we jump in. Feel free to drop your questions as we go along. Follow Lettuce on LinkedIn and Instagram so you can stay in touch with us after today. There are offers in the tabs. For those of you that cannot find it, it's handouts, then underneath that is offer. We are offering a free month of Lettuce if you sign up by the end of May. If you're already a Lettuce customer, we can tell you how to find a free month for yourself in the dashboard because we have an offer for you there as well. Okay, on to Baily. Baily was just saying she's got 11 years. She says a decade here in our intro, but really 11 years of helping entrepreneurs and executives transform how they approach relationships. She is a connection strategist, a speaker, and workshop facilitator. She has done this version of the workshop just for you today. She was tweaking it until it was at least 9 o'clock last night. And she is a professional friend maker. She delivers over 150 talks and workshops a year. She's been featured in Forbes and Create and Cultivate. And her signature framework, the overlap method, has helped hundreds of people build relationships that actually become opportunities. As I said, this is her second solo summit. We had her on a panel on the last one and got such good feedback that she was at the top of the list to invite back for today. So I will stop talking and hand it over to her so that she can spread her wisdom. Take it away, Baily.
Thank you, Lisa. And just to clarify, for anybody that heard 150 gigs a year, that's over 150. I think I'm over 200 something now, but it is over a long period of time. I don't do 150 a year. I'm not opposed to that, but that has not been the situation thus far. But thank you oh, is my mic off? I see somebody in the chat saying my mic is off. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, it's on. Okay. It's just a little, once you backed up, it's a little better. You were getting a little feedback at the beginning. I think off and sound, not hurt.
Okay. How is this? Am I all right? I don't want to blow anybody's eardrums out.
Yep.
A little crispy. All right. Well, we'll roll with it. I will try to not use my stage voice at my computer, but it is hard. Thank you again for that wonderful introduction, Lisa. As Lisa mentioned, I'm a connection strategist, keynote speaker, professional friend maker, and I'm doing my favorite thing in the entire world, which is being here with all of you right now, even though I wish I could see all of your faces because it is so different when it's virtual, but I can feel you in here. I see the chat blowing up. I'm going to try to not get distracted by the chat, which I always do. I was that girl in class growing up that teachers would say, she's a very bright student, but she talks to classmates too much. And that is exactly how it works in the chat with me too. So I'm going to try and stay focused because we have a lot to cover today. But effectively, the overall gist of this workshop is we're going to talk about how to find the right partners for your business not through random networking, but through intentional alignment. I'm going to say the word alignment an exhausting amount of times today. Hopefully it still means something by the end of this, and maybe even means more than it did. Maybe you won't roll your eyes at the word alignment, which I have done many times, because it's one of those words that can feel very overused and sort of, what does it even mean? But when it comes to finding good partners and really just building good relationships in general, alignment is everything. So we're going to talk about that today. So while most of us instinctually realize that relationships matter, a lot of solopreneurs especially still end up trying to build everything all by themselves. But being a solopreneur does not mean you have to build and grow your business alone. Just because solo's in the name doesn't mean you have to do it alone, okay? But there's a good reason why we feel this way. So many of us have been conditioned to believe that success has to come from figuring everything out ourselves. So we end up kind of in this position stuck between craving support, because that's what feels natural to us as humans, and resisting it because that's sort of what's been told to us. So tell me if any of these beliefs sound familiar to you. And if there's any of these that you're like, ooh, yep, that is me, I 100% believe that, tell us in the chat. But effectively, we have this idea that self-sufficiency is a badge of honor. I call it the scam of self-sufficiency because I think it's done a lot more damage than good to our society for all of us to feel like if we want it done, we have to do it ourselves. If I want to be successful, I have to pull myself up from my bootstraps and all of these things. When in reality, we are an interconnected species. We thrive on connection. We thrive in community, but a lot of us have kind of forgotten how to be in community and in connection with others, and we've forgotten how to allow ourselves to be supported and seen by others. But if we do this, and by the way, I just want to acknowledge, these fears and beliefs, they don't come from nowhere, right? A lot of them have come from real experience. I mean, many of us have been burned, specifically in group projects. I know I still have group project PTSD from all the group projects in college and grad school that I essentially carried entirely on my back alone. And in retrospect, perhaps that was maybe a bit of my fault because I wanted it done right, and so I did it myself. And I didn't want to feel screwed over. I didn't want to get burned. So these are very, very real fears and beliefs that don't come from nowhere. However, if we buy into the scam of self-sufficiency, we run the risk of these three things happening, right? We start believing that exhaustion and burnout are just part of the gig. We miss amazing opportunities that could have helped us expand our visibility and increase our impact. And worst case scenario, we don't make it, right? Our business isn't here in a couple of years. And that's really the scenario that so many solopreneurs face after a little while, because if they are trying to do everything all by themselves, burnout's almost inevitable. And bitterness always comes for me when I find myself doing too much in isolation, because I want that support. I want people to see me struggling, which of course I would never show. And I want them to just swoop in and say, hey, is there anything we can do for you? But that isn't how it works. And we're going to talk about that later and how we can remedy that. But, you know, what's really important to remember here is that it's not collaboration's fault, right? Collaboration, partnerships, that's not the problem. Misalignment with the wrong partners is generally the issue. But if there's one thing I know with absolute certainty in my life, it's this, that people are portals. And what I mean by that is it's through the human beings in your life and the people that they know that you are going to stumble upon and walk through these doors to amazing opportunities, incredible introductions to people that could change your life, visibility, resources, ideas, money, growth, and really anything you want in your life. And this has absolutely been so true for me throughout my entire life, and certainly my career as a solopreneur. In fact, I'm here facilitating this workshop right now because back in the fall of last year, Amy Nelson, who I've known for, I believe, about 8 years now, reached out and said, hey, I have an opportunity to put together a panel about partnerships. I know that this is what you do. I know that this is your sweet spot, because she hired me to help her launch the Riveter in Los Angeles 8 years ago this summer. And so I was doing partnerships and collaborations for her, and then we went our separate ways, but stayed in touch, loosely kept up on what each other had been up to for these last 8 years. And when she had an opportunity to act as a portal for me, she opened that door and I walked through. And then after the October Solo Summit, Lisa reached out just a couple months ago and invited me back because she and I had met through the last summit. I built credibility with her and we built a relationship, and now here I am today. So thank you both, Amy and Lisa, for acting as portals for me and inviting me back as round two Lisa. But that's how this works, right? That is entirely how this works. There is almost nothing you can fully achieve on your own. And even if you can, it's likely that if you were to enlist the support of people who are aligned with you and your goals and all of those things we're going to get into today, it would be so much more satisfying and enjoyable. Because yes, of course you can do things by yourself. Nobody is questioning that. But what I question is, why do you want to? And I think if you have a quick answer to that, I want you to sit with that answer, because you may really be running the risk of missing out on so many good things in your life by finding the people who are going to be the right fit for you to help you reach your goals even faster. Because the right relationships can really, really change the trajectory of your business, right? And I'd love to hear in the comments too, if you've had one of these portal experiences, please share it with us if there's a good one, and even if there's not a good one. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but any job I've ever had, if it came through a random like job board or LinkedIn posting, and I did end up getting it, which is kind of rare anyway, and especially nowadays, it was never the right kind of fit. Whereas every role I've ever had that came referred through somebody that knew me was so much better a fit for me because they were out there having my best interests in mind when they were searching for things. So I would love to hear your portal experiences in the chat. So ultimately, this workshop is not just about finding good collaborators. It's about building a business that feels more supported, more sustainable, and more connected through reciprocal relationships. And those kinds of relationships become much more likely when you are clear, visible, and aligned, which is exactly what the overlap method helps you achieve. So the overlap method is a relational framework that I developed to help people create intentional relationships, collaborations, and opportunities. So the three phases we're going to go through each section today. Know yourself is about getting clear on who you are, what your business needs, and what you can bring to a partnership. Very important pieces, and people almost always skip this part. They go straight into the conversation about what are we going to do, let's make this happen, before they've even really assessed why they're going to do this, what do they want from it, how are they going to measure success, is this person a good fit for me? So clarity is so important when it comes to partnerships. Show yourself is about helping the right people understand what you do, who you serve, and where you're headed so they can act as a portal for you. And seek the overlap is about identifying aligned collaborators through shared values, complementary strengths, and reciprocal support. So today we're looking at the overlap method specifically through the lens of finding aligned partners for your business, but this framework applies to all kinds of relationships. So I just want you to keep that in mind. As we're talking about each phase of it, kind of expand your mind even beyond partnerships and think, where can this help me in other areas of my life to build these reciprocal, real, deep, honest relationships that can help me achieve my goals? All right, so we're going to walk through each part and how it applies to finding the right partners for your business, starting with the foundation, know yourself. Because aligned partnerships begin with self-awareness and clarity. Because when you know who you are and what you want, you're more likely to attract aligned partners. And that's the only kind we want. Okay, so before you can identify alignment with somebody else, you need clarity around your business identity. Because how are you going to be able to identify overlap with someone if you don't know what's inside your own circle first? And I should back up. My entire business is Overlap Collective. My podcast is Seeking the Overlap. My Substack is Seeking the Overlap. I have a Venn diagram tattooed on my body. So when I talk about overlap, I'm talking about the place on the Venn diagram between you and somebody else, and where it intersects, right? So what do you guys have in common? What is your common ground that you can start from? Because when you start from there, you can work your way out and have as many differences as you want, but as long as you know where you're aligned and where you're overlapping, that's where real trust and connection forms. Everything else comes after that. But that overlap, that place in the middle, that's where we want to begin. Okay, so it is important though, before you can even figure out what you have in common, you got to know what you've got in your circle. So I want you to think of your business kind of like its own ecosystem. So inside of your circle are all of the things that make your business uniquely you. And as solopreneurs, many of us are extensions of our business rather than like a detached founder running a business. And neither is better or worse, but I think it's an interesting situation that solopreneurs in particular find ourselves, because when people talk about selling my services, I feel like, well, I'm selling me, because in my work, I am the product. I sell my expertise, my time, my stage presence when I book keynote talks or workshops, which means my business identity is very intertwined with my actual individual identity. And so this can be a good exercise to do separately. So you can do this for yourself. You can do this for your business. And if those two sets of answers end up being very similar or overlapping, then great. It doesn't really matter. But it's important, if you and your business are quite distinct from one another, do this for both of you. Because even though you're going to partner with other businesses, businesses are just run by people. And this is something that I came to realize very early in my partnership and business development and collaboration career many years ago when I was doing biz dev and partnerships for General Assembly in Los Angeles. I initially would start to reach out to these brands and these companies to partner with them, and I would get very nervous. And I would overthink it, and I would imagine like, oh, this person is too important to talk to me, or they're so impressive, or they're too busy, or all of those stories, right? I'd have major imposter syndrome. And then I realized that, well, first of all, people are just people. Everybody is somebody's like former idiot college roommate or, cousin's neighbor, right? People are just people. And so if you can kind of remove them from the pedestal of your mind and put yourself on an even playing field, then it kind of feels a little less intimidating. But something that I also learned through that role in particular is when you're partnering with a brand or a business, the person that you're interfacing with at that brand or business is almost more important to be aligned with than the business itself, because they are who you are partnering with. And just like any kind of relationship, friendship, romantic, familial, it's a relationship. And you have to mesh, you have to gel, you have to vibe. And so keep that in mind, that when you partner with a business, you're actually partnering with people. And the benefit of this, of course, is, first of all, businesses aren't alive, so that's not very fun. But those people will likely go on to either work at a ton of different companies, or they'll start their own thing, or if they're a solopreneur now, they may go back in-house somewhere. So if you can develop an actual relationship with that person, then you suddenly now will have all of these great ins at other places as the years go on. I mean, the partners that I worked with back at General Assembly in 2014, a lot of them are still friends with me today. And so we've all done a million things since then. And it's actually opened a lot of doors for me as well, because I partnered with the human, not the business. And then that relationship continued on, right? All right, so let's break down what each of these things are inside of our circles. So your intentions. Why do you want to collaborate? So one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they say yes to a partnership or collaboration without actually thinking about why they want to do it, right? They're just honored to be asked to dance, so they say yes. But it's like, well, that's like your cousin asking you to dance. Wouldn't you rather go to dance with somebody you like? So, also no shade to going to dance with your cousin if that's what you want to do. But what you really want to do is think about, why am I collaborating in the first place? What's the point of this? And also, FYI, there's no right reason. It's completely personal and depending on your own goals and everything you're working towards in your work at the moment. Some people are looking for more visibility, more revenue, audience growth. And by some, I mean pretty much everybody would like more visibility, money, and audience growth. I would love to know in the comments if anybody doesn't want those things. But those are the top reasons people end up wanting to partner and collaborate, is to expand their impact, is to expand their visibility, it's to have their business succeed. some other people are looking for more of a creative expansion or community engagement or shared impact or just to stop building in isolation. So it's very important to get honest about your intentions because when they're clear, it allows you to have better discernment for who might be a good partner. And then you're a lot less likely to say yes to a misaligned partner and more likely to attract partners who actually fit your goals. Okay, next up is your identity. So I put a little QR code on here because speaking of Amy Nelson of The Riveter, she and Lettuce have been doing this amazing 10-day challenge that I've been participating in for the last week or so. And I bring it up because it has helped me figure out my business identity and my positioning statement and, you know, exactly who I am, what I do, and all of that. So sharing you there, if you want to scan that, if you're not already in this challenge, I believe you can still join it, but it's been really helpful for me on getting clear on this identity piece. So who are you? What do you do? Right? It's very important to have it locked and loaded. Like I care about these things. This is exactly my service and my offer. This is how much I charge. These are the type of people who hire me and pay me for my services. This is the kind of transformation that I provide. And so when you think about who you and your business are as an identity, that's very important to know because on the flip side, when potential partners are evaluating whether you're the right fit for them, this kind of stuff is going to be important for them to know. Then we have mission and vibe, and I would throw values in here too. So this is important because it's very crucial in partnerships that you not align yourself with people and brands who have a really different mission and vibe to you. And the reason that's important is alignment is something that your audience, your customers, your clients, they're going to feel and they're going to sense. And if you're partnering with somebody that feels like a weird choice for you, it's going to feel a little disjointed for the people that are interacting with your brand. So I want you to think about it. Like, what is your big picture purpose here? What do you stand for? What's the energy or the style of your brand? And most importantly, how do you want people to feel after interacting with your brand? It's very important. Okay, audience, who are your people? And depending on what exactly it is that you do as a solopreneur, you may have an audience of followers and people that enjoy your content or subscribe to your newsletter or follow you on social media, and you might have separate buyers who are actually the people that hire you or pay you. For me, I have two separate groups because whereas my audience are ambitious professionals, whether they're solopreneurs or executive leaders, they want to know how to build deeper, better, more impactful relationships. But those aren't the people that hire me to come speak and teach. I get hired by organizations and communities and events and summits and retreats and employee resource groups. And so if you have a split there and your audience and your buyers are different, also write that down because those two different groups are going to come into play depending on the type of partnership or collaboration you do. So think through, who do you serve? Who follows you? Who do you currently work with? Who would you like to be working with? And if you really want to get meta with it, fill out the circle for your audience, right? So like what's in your audience's circle? Because it essentially helps you understand where they're coming from, what they care about, what's important to them, all of that good stuff. Your asks and your gives. This is really the crux of collaboration. And as a collaboration consultant, which I was for about 5 years before going back in-house somewhere, getting laid off, returning to this side of the world, which P.S. I'm very glad to be back to solopreneurship. I missed it. It's been about 3 years since I've been back, and it's not easy, as all of you know, but man, it feels so rewarding and so good. Okay, back to the point. Asks and gives are deeply important because that's really, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? What are you asking for in a partnership? And you'll see in just a moment, your asks and your gives are directly aligned with your intentions. So I want you to think through, what are your asks? So one of the biggest reasons people end up feeling disappointed and resentful or taken advantage of in collaborations is because they never got clear on what they actually wanted from the partnership in the first place, right? They just said yes. They're like, yay, let's do it. Let's collab. I don't know if it happens as much, but for a long time, I would get outreach on social media, in my DMs, my email, everywhere saying, hey, you seem cool. Let's collab. And it's like, okay, but what do you want to do? And a lot of times it was, I don't know, what should we do? And then suddenly now I have to come up with something. So it's very important to think through, what is it that you actually want and need support with right now? Most of the time, like I mentioned, people want promotion because that's going to increase awareness of you and your business, aka bring in more money. But content is another really good one. When you're asking for content from a partner, this would be something like, I have a podcast. This would be me inviting somebody to be a guest on my show. They are providing me with content from my channels, which then makes my content even better for my audience. For opportunities, this would be like, I want you to offer a discount code for my community for your upcoming event, or I want you to offer a freebie to my community and then I'll promote you with that freebie, right? So this is expanding your offerings through strategic partnerships with other people. And then all of these other reasons, very important too. Referrals is a fantastic way to partner with somebody. And I just want to put a little point on this. When we think about partnerships and collaborations, most of our minds go immediately to marketing, right? It's like, oh yeah, we want to, launch this new thing. So who can we partner with to get in their email or to get them to post about it on social? Yes, those are all collaborations and partnerships. However, there are so many other ways that are not as visible to partner with people. And referrals is a really great example of that, because talk about like high impact visibility for your business. Referrals, it almost doesn't get better than that, because suddenly the person making the referral for you has just lent you their credibility, the trust that they've built with that person, all of the effort that they've put in to building that relationship. And now you get to walk in as, this warm introduction and just cut through so much of the noise. So this is where it gets kind of cool. Remember, we just did our intentions. This helps you understand how, if you want to increase your visibility, these are probably going to be the kinds of asks that you're going to want, right? Obviously, you want promotion and referrals. But maybe if you want to grow your audience, you might want content, because having somebody, very impressive or, somebody that people respect on your channels will lend you their credibility and will often grow your audience with theirs, assuming they share the content that they shared with you with their audience. And it doesn't always happen, but so I won't go through each of these just for the sake of time today, but I want you to really think about this. If you want to amplify your impact, then what kinds of asks will you put forth in a collaboration opportunity, right? So the important thing here is to get clear about those intentions and then try and get more specific with the asks. All right, now on the flip side, the other side of identifying your asks is figuring out your gives, because relationships should be about reciprocity, right? It's an even value exchange, or at least that's what you should aim for in a partnership, a collaboration, a relationship of any kind. What are you offering them that is of equal value to them as what they're offering to you? Okay, so your gives, a lot of times, the way that this works is somebody comes to you and says, let's collab, and you're like, great, I want this, that, and the other, and they're like, okay, can I have this, and this, and they'll just give you a laundry list of things that they want from you. And if you haven't sat down and really thought about not just what you're able to offer a partner, but what you are comfortable and willing to offer a partner, it's very easy to get taken advantage of. And it's not to say that the other party is bad or they're purposely taking advantage of you, but if you aren't clear on what you're okay giving to somebody, then you're more likely to overgive. It's also really important to think through all of these categories with your gives, because I think a lot of times people will stop at I have an email newsletter of, 5,000 people that I can promote your content to. Great, easy peasy. But there are so many other ways that you can provide value to a partner. And what's really important is that value is contextual, right? Value is personal. So just because you might think, okay, well, everybody's going to want me to shout them out on my Substack, that might not be the case. So when you're in conversation with a potential partner, kind of identifying alignment, figuring out if you want to work together, this is where you can really sit down and hear them, listen to them, ask them what their goals are, ask them what's important to them, ask them what their priorities are for the next couple of quarters, and then really listen. Because if you've done this work and you've really thought about what you have to offer somebody, you might realize, okay, I can't help them in the way that I thought I was going to be able to help them, but I actually know this person who can. There, now you have a referral that you can offer them. And maybe the collaboration doesn't happen in that moment, but you've now just established really good goodwill with this person and relationship karma, and you never know where it will come back around. So same thing that we did with your intentions to your gives, it changes a little bit, right? As you'll see here, if you're trying to increase your visibility, what can you give to a partner to make that happen? Content. So I do a lot of what I call expertise for exposure, and it's where I essentially take my thought leadership and try and put it on other people's platforms. I love being a guest on podcasts for so many reasons, but one of them is because it is such an easy way for me to have an organic, warm, friendly, natural conversation with somebody who has built trust with an audience, who listens, right? Who excitedly listens to each episode as it drops. Now I get to come and be in front of their audience who's all warmed up and ready to go and inherently will like me right off the bat because the host has vouched for me by having me on their show. So I get to increase my visibility and grow my audience and generate more money and establish credibility and work with cool people and amplify my impact all through offering myself as the give. Right? My expertise, my stories, my frameworks, my tools, all of that good stuff. So I want you to think through this again, just like we did with the other. What is it that you could offer in order to help you achieve the goal of your intentions? And then who would you like to work with? You know, alignment or not? Who do you have in mind as like a dream partner? And maybe it's not a specific person or brand, but just this idea of who they are. Or you have somebody in mind, but you know, maybe they're a little further down the line. That will help guide you towards somebody who maybe you could partner with in a shorter term that checks a lot of those same boxes. So some things to consider with this, you know, who are they? What do they do? What do they have that you don't? What do they have that you do? What is it that you like about them? And maybe you'll realize you already have a relationship with somebody that kind of fits that description, or you know somebody who knows somebody who does, and then there you go. And something else to consider here, alignment doesn't come simply because you like somebody, right? You can't coast on vibes alone, not for the long run. So it is very important that you are aligned with the parts that really matter, right? That your values are aligned, that you serve similar people, that your strengths complement each other, that you're not too similar because then you're the same company and does it make any sense to do a partnership? But the clearer you are about these things, once again, the easier discernment becomes. Okay, so you'll see another little QR code up there in the corner. Later today or tomorrow, I'm going to, for anybody that wants this, I'm going to send out the Overlap Method workbook, and in it we'll have all of these reflection and integration questions that you'll see throughout today's presentation. So if you want to kind of not do this in real time, if you want to come back and take your time with these questions, then that's a great way to do it. The workbook is just a Google Doc that'll have all of these and then a bunch more questions in there. So go ahead and scan that and get access to that if you'd like it. But this kind of self-reflection, right? Like, why do I want to collaborate? What are my asks? What are my gives? And all of those other questions about what is in your circle. This deserves more time than just a few minutes, but I also want to say, don't overthink it, right? Go with your gut. Go with your initial thoughts or initial reactions, because the goal is not perfection here, and the goal is not to lock this in forever and then never do it again. Right? We are ever evolving, changing creatures, and especially as it relates to entrepreneurship and solopreneurship. So this is going to be a moving target, and it's the thing you're going to come back to time and time again. All right, so on to the second phase of the overlap method, which is show yourself, because now that we have clarity about what's in our circle, it's time to step out of the shadows and allow yourself to be seen, because clarity might help you identify aligned partners, but it's visibility that's going to help them identify you, right? And that's the best case scenario. When aligned partners come to you and say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been watching what you've been up to. I've, looked into who you support and what you serve, and I just love your vibe. I love what you do. I know that we're aligned here, but I'd love to talk to you more. It's like, oh, okay, sure. Hello, new friend. You've done all the heavy lifting for me, but that won't happen if people can't see you and if they don't know what it is that you want. Okay? So in this situation, showing yourself means two things. Putting yourself in proximity to aligned people, and that looks like showing up in the communities that you're in, joining new ones if you're feeling like you're missing some people in terms of who is in your community, and then looking to your existing relationships and connections, your individual human beings. So it's being out in the world, being seen, literally being in places, whether online or off, where you are in connection and community with other people. And it's metaphorical in the sense that you need to allow yourself to be seen. You need to make it easy for those people to understand who you are and how they can best support you. So I want to make sure you understand, when I talk about increasing your visibility, I don't mean attending a ton of networking events or posting online every single day. I mean being more intentional about where and how you show up in relation to others, right? So the best places to find potential aligned partners, like right now, today, is in the communities, the spaces, the groups that you are already part of. So think of networking groups, professional organizations, your kids' school PTA, your co-working space, your local coffee shop, does not matter. Whether it's casual or it's professional in nature, people are everywhere, right? All of your professional relationships are also human beings that have a personal life, and vice versa. So I also see people compartmentalize, I think, a bit too much with, oh, these are my professional friends and these are my personal friends. When in reality, if you mush them together a little bit, you really double your possible partners, right? And then, of course, your existing network of first and second degree connections are incredibly a great resource for finding potential partners. Oh, thank you, Erin, for sharing the link directly to that worksheet. Appreciate you. And I'm not looking at the chat. You guys are very chatty over there, and I will get real distracted real fast. So, all right. One of the biggest misconceptions about networking that I want you to just eliminate from your brain right now is that you constantly need to meet new people to find opportunities. You do not. I go in phases where I'm in a no new friends phase. Is anybody else in a no new friends phase? I'm not in one right now, but I have been for like the last year and a half. I've been more internal and more kind of in a hibernation zone, but she's out and she's ready to meet people now. But in reality, most of your really good potential collaborators already exist somewhere within your existing ecosystem. And I call that the zones of connection. So not every aligned partner is going to start as a stranger. In fact, most of the time, your best bet is to start small with someone you already know, like, and trust, so that you guys can experiment together when the stakes are low. That's the best thing. Partner up with somebody who isn't going to write you off if it doesn't go perfectly, right? Like, experiment and fail and iterate together. So before assuming that you need to start from scratch, I want you to ask yourself, who already exists in my ecosystem that I could deepen connection with intentionally and turn from a casual connection maybe to a trusted collaborator, right? Yeah, my top 8, my MySpace top 8, the youths will never know the drama of having to choose your top 8. It was brutal. I cannot believe we did that, but here we are. We all survived. Another one of the biggest mistakes solopreneurs make is assuming people know how to support them. I've been guilty of this so many times. I'm over here being like, why isn't anybody sending me clients? Why isn't anybody recommending my podcast? Well, because they don't know what I'm doing. Because they're focusing on themselves. Because we're all focusing on ourselves. Because we have to, right? And maybe we're good about staying in touch with people and keeping abreast on what everybody's doing in their businesses, but we're busy, especially if you're a solopreneur. And so people aren't mind readers. They may genuinely want to help you, but if your asks are vague, unclear, or inconsistent, or non-existent, they don't have anything concrete to act on. right? So I learned this myself when I started intentionally sharing specific goals with my network. So I mentioned I was laid off at the end of 2023, and 2024, I just hit the ground running. I was like, this is going to be great. I'm back to working for myself. These are all the things I want to do. And I knew very quickly that I needed to reintroduce myself to my network, let everybody know that I was back in the solopreneur game, and tell them how I could use some help. So I made a post to LinkedIn 2 years ago, effectively saying, I would like to be a guest on 15 podcasts this year. And suddenly people knew exactly how to help me. And not only did I hit my goal of 15, I landed 21 guest spots among so many other incredible opportunities that helped me reestablish myself as an entrepreneur and increase my credibility and client base. So I have a little trick for you if asking for support feels kind of sticky, called the ABCs of seeking support. So A is ask for what you want. And in my post, you can see I straight up asked, one of my goals is to be a guest on at least 15 well-aligned podcasts. Boom. B is be clear and specific. I said exactly what kind of conversations I wanted to have on those podcasts and who the audience should be. And I set a number, 15. And so I was very clear and specific, because the more specific you're asked, the easier it is to help you. And don't make them ask a ton of follow-up questions. Just give them all the info, right? And then C is clarify your credibility, including your receipts, basically, your social proof or relevant assets is so important, because that way people feel comfortable advocating and recommending you, right? Because their reputations are on the line. And so you can see here, I include at the end, this is, how many podcasts I've been on. And then in the comments, I shared my link to my media page so that if they wanted to vet me first, they could. And it worked really, really well. So visibility is about more than just being seen. It's about making it easier for aligned people to recognize opportunities, introductions, and collaborations that might be a good fit for you. Okay, so reflection, integration, activity 2. This is where I want you to think about what communities am I already part of that I could maybe increase my engagement to, or show up a little bit more often, or reintroduce myself. Who in my network could I reconnect with or deepen a relationship with? I mean, think back, who are some of your favorite collaborators or colleagues or coworkers through the years? What are they up to now? Might they be a good partner, or maybe they know somebody who would be? So think through each of these questions. Again, these are on the Overlap Method workbook at that link there if you would like to see them. But these are your integration to-dos, and these are your self-reflection questions to ask yourself so that you know exactly where am I currently visible, where could I be a little bit more visible, and do people know how they can support me? Okay, and I know we're short on time, so we're going to zoom. Once you have clarity and a clear path for intentional visibility, the next step is figuring out how to identify whether someone is actually aligned with you and where you're headed, because not every collaboration opportunity is the right one. And I say this from experience. So the overlap method, seek the overlap step, asks, are we actually aligned? Is this reciprocal? Do our strengths complement each other? Will this partnership create expansion or just exhaustion? Because, of course, alignment's easier to identify when you know what you're looking for. Partnerships are relational, but they are also very reputational. So I share this quote, who you align your company with impacts your brand reputation. So be mindful of who you sit with in the cafeteria of life. Because my mom used to always say, you got to be careful about who you sit with in the cafeteria, because all the other students and teachers are going to assume you are part of the same crew. If you sit with the mean girls, you're a mean girl. It doesn't matter if you're not actually mean, right? And so if you sit with the smart kids, suddenly you're a nerd. And if you sit with the athletes, you're a jock. And, of course, it's not as clear cut as that anymore, but there is still a level of reputation that you want to make sure that you're being mindful of. So another big misconception about partnerships is that alignment equals sameness, and it doesn't. The strongest collaborations usually are not built on two identical businesses. They're built on strategic overlap. So you want enough in common that it creates alignment, but enough different that it creates value. Because if each side is bringing the same thing, there's no expansion, right? So great partnerships happen when your audiences overlap and your values align, but then other stuff is different. Okay, so Your collaboration criteria is something that everybody should have before they go into collaboration conversations, because this is going to help you evaluate whether somebody's aligned, whether a partnership might be reciprocal, and whether the collaboration is actually worth pursuing. Because discernment doesn't just happen before a conversation, it happens during the conversation. It happens after, right? When you're on a call with somebody and you're identifying alignment, it's important to kind of get a sense of, is this going to be reciprocal? Are we speaking the same language? Do our values align? And then after you hang up, how do I feel? Do I feel energized? Do I feel exhausted? Would I trust them with my audience? Trust is such an important part of all of this, right? And so you want the kind of partnerships that are going to create expansion and not the kinds that create confusion, resentment, exhaustion, right? So your collaboration criteria is going to help you identify the difference before you overcommit. All right, so for your collaboration criteria, and one more time for the people in the back, the Overlap Method Workbook, getting sent out this afternoon or tomorrow morning, we'll have all of these questions and so many more. So you can actually build out your collaboration criteria. But the goal here is not to build a perfect checklist, it's to build self-trust, okay? It's to establish boundaries. It's to establish your needs. It's to establish how you want this to go so that you're more likely to end up with a relationship, a partnership that actually serves your needs, okay? So the more clear you become about what matters to you, what drains you, and what alignment actually feels and looks like, the easier it's going to become to identify partnerships that are actually supportive and reciprocal and sustainable and enjoyable. This is the final thought I want to leave you with. Success is not a solo sport. Collaborating with the right people can be the catalyst to having a sustainable business and a satisfying life. It can be so much more fun, you guys. I promise, if you haven't been collaborating and teaming up and supporting other entrepreneurs and being supported and being in community, it's the thing that has kept me going longer than absolutely anything else. Okay? So that's what I'm going to leave you with. Thank you all so much for being here. Today has been so impactful, and I hope the rest of the afternoon is incredible. Please connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. There's my Substack as well and all of my stuff, but I believe you will get all these presentations and recordings at some point soon. So please reach out and say hello on the interwebs.
Amazing. Thank you, Baily. Let everyone know. Thank you in the chat to her. I know the vibe coding session now is starting now, so people are probably anxious to get to that, but just a quick follow-up and housekeeping on our end. Lettuce is also 2 weeks from now hosting what we're calling solo sessions, featuring someone we chatted about a lot today, Amy Nelson from The Riveter. So she's going to be hosting some small group conversations where we're going to be featuring a couple of solos, really dissecting a business challenge that they have live and sort of helping them work through that. The sign up and link is in the handouts tab under offers, so you can find that there. Go ahead and sign up to join us in a couple weeks to learn more. And yes, you'll get all the stuff from Baily, and thanks again for joining us all.
Bye, everybody. And if I didn't answer your question, I'll get to it. I'll send you a note.